She said, I want an open relationship. I'm not ready to be exclusive. I said, fine. Then I actually started seeing other people. She called me crying, saying that's not what she meant. I met Cassie at a friend's rooftop party last summer. The kind of night when the city lights make everything feel like it's moving faster than your thoughts, and you forget about the work emails waiting for you the next morning. She was standing near the bar, laughing at some joke that I barely heard. But her smile hit me, the kind that feels like it knows your secrets before you even speak. I walked over. We started talking about everything and nothing, books, music, dumb memes, until the party emptied around us and the street smelled like summer rain. I offered to walk her home, and she teased, "Careful, guys who walk girls home get kidnapped, you know." And I laughed, telling her I'd take my chances. She texted the next morning. We talked all day, then night, and suddenly, weeks passed like pages flipping. Coffee dates turned into Netflix nights, shared playlists, her leaning against me while scrolling through her phone, laughing at TikToks I didn't understand. It was intense, intoxicating, addictive, until it wasn't. Because every so often she would draw, get quiet, say she needed space, and I told myself that's normal. That's just dating, modern, messy, nonlinear, and yet my chest would tighten every time she pulled away. She'd sometimes tease, "You're such a relationship guy." And I'd laugh it off, though the truth was I hated that she was right. I liked knowing where I stood. I liked consistency. But with Cassie, everything was a cliffhanger. The highs were wild. Surprise road trips, random late-night coffee runs, stolen kisses mid-conversation. The lows were cold, absent, and she could shut it off like a switch. I stayed, because I thought I could handle it. I thought I was mature, but the first night she said it, lying in bed, scrolling on her phone, I traced lazy circles on her back, and she dropped it casually. "I don't want to rush into anything serious. I really like you, but I'm not ready for exclusivity." It was a punch to the gut. I asked her what she meant, and she said she wanted an open relationship. No pressure, just honesty. She said, "I'm not seeing anyone else right now. I just don't want to feel boxing." And like an idiot, I said fine, thinking I was adulting, thinking I could be flexible, but inside, a small voice whispered I was already set up to be her fallback. The next morning, she acted like nothing happened, stole one of my hoodies, kissed my cheek, reminded me of plans for Friday. I stood in the doorway wondering. If last night was a conversation or an unspoken breakup, Friday came. She dragged me into her world, her yoga friends, free spirits, talking about energy and vibes like I was invisible. I nodded along, pretending to understand, all the while feeling like an outsider. She was home, laughing, glowing, and later that night, curled up next to me like everything was fine, and I asked quietly, "So how do we define open?" She sighed, like I'd asked her to do algebra in her head. "We don't, babe, it's just honesty. Tell each other if something happens. No guilt, no rules." And it sounded like freedom, but it felt like a trap. The door slightly ajar, just wide enough to hear someone walking away. I tried to convince myself it was fine, that I could handle it, and at first I did. Nothing changed for a week. Then the subtle shift, she'd say she was grabbing drinks, come home smelling like someone else's cologne, laugh at her phone while hiding the screen, whisper a name in sleep I didn't recognize, and every time I tried to talk about it, she made me feel insane. "This is why people can't be honest," she'd say. "You say you're fine, then you get weird." So I shut up, convinced it was temporary, a phase. She'd get out her system. Meanwhile, I stopped sleeping, staring at my phone like a fool, until one Saturday morning, a story, a reflection in a cafe window, another man's face half visible, smiling. She said, "It's just a friend." And I knew she didn't want open. She wanted me waiting, safety net, someone to catch her after adventures. I was dumb enough to play the role. Mark saw right through it. "You're not in an open relationship. Dude, you're single and don't know yet." And I said, "I'll give it more time. Maybe she'd figure out." She did, just not the way I hoped. A strange rhythm followed. Her disappearing for days, excuses, yoga retreats, brunches with girls, reappearing with coffee and kisses like nothing happened. Emotional whiplash became my routine. She pressed invisible buttons, kept me close enough to be convenient, far enough to stay free. One night I said, "It feels like you're not really here when you are." She rolled her eyes. "God, you're intense. That's why I didn't want exclusivity. Pressure." She called it. All I felt was numbness. swallowing hits of social media proof, until one Thursday. She called while I gamed with Mark, soft, drunk. "Can you come over?" I did, and she was in my old shirt, candles lit, whispering, "I miss you, it was good, too good." But her phone buzzed. Everything stiffened. I couldn't sleep. Snapped quietly, heart hollow. Morning came. She left early, Mark texted. She was holding hands with someone else. I didn't reply, nothing. And for the first time, peace, real peace, not heavy, anxious, just clarity. If she could play the game, so could I. Curiosity first. No revenge. I opened the dating app one had installed months ago. Rewrote my bio, photos, reactivated. Within a day, matches, real people, normal women. First week coffee with Emily, funny. Grounded, no game, second date dinner. Third, drinks by the river. A kiss that felt honest, soft, simple. I woke with guilt. No wrongdoing. Cassie wanted open. I gave her rules back. That weekend she texted, "Hey, you've been quiet." I said, "Yeah, busy." She said, "With what?" I replied, "You said open, remember?" No reply, then, "Oh, okay, just don't do anything stupid." Like she had veto power. Next night, a cocktail photo, no caption. Missed calls and texts flooded. She panicked. Open was one-sided. I stayed silent. Dates continued. She switched to nostalgia. Showing up at my door, snacks, questions. I said, "You said open." Confusion and betrayal on her face. Slammed door. I stayed calm for the first time in months. Not revenge, just peace. She slipped mask a week. Later, crying, "Fun, I can't believe you're seeing someone." I reminded her. She asked for freedom. I just claimed mine too. She tried guilt. "You don't care about me." I stayed calm, detached, cared differently. Next day, unannounced, wrecked, pacing. "I didn't think you'd do it. I thought it would make us stronger." I almost laughed. I asked, "Wait for what?" She wanted to see if I'd wait, if I get bored first. I hate how much this hurts. Almost softened, remembered nights staring at. My phone said, "Yeah, it sucks, but that's what happens when you play games with people who care." She cried. Asked to start over, delete apps, stop seeing others. I saw through the charm. Hollow. Said, "You don't get to ask for exclusivity after burning it down." Her shock. "Wow, you've really changed." Yeah, I said, open relationship worked after all. She stormed out, slammed door. I didn't feel anger, just done. Last text. "You'll regret this." I smiled, replied, "I already did for months." Not anymore. Blocked her. Silence. Peace. She tried reaching out. I ignored. Met her for coffee eventually. She looked perfect. Soft hair, understated makeup. "Hey." Awkward silence. "You look good." She smiled, nostalgic monologue. "I miss us. I miss you." I leaned back. "You wanted freedom. I gave it. When I took mine, you realized you didn't like it." Face tightened. "Not fair." "Completely fair. You made the rules." Arms crossed. "So what?" "You're done." Yeah, I nodded. Her eyes watered, shocked, not used to me being calm. "You can't just walk away like this. You want an open relationship." I walked out. Take care. No calls, frozen. Exhaling for the first time. 6 months passed. She tried subtle messages. I ignored. Found out she burned bridges. Emily and I. Steady, honest, calm. Every once in a while I scroll past her post, distant, detached. Love once blazing, now just someone I used to know. Mark jokes. I laugh differently now, wiser. Learn one thing. Believe people first time. If they don't include you, don't wait. Freedom is testing how much you'll give before taking it back. I gave mine back piece by piece. Night I said fine. First time I stopped checking my phone. First no. Last time I looked in the eye. She couldn't hurt me. She wanted open. She got an open door. I walked through it. Didn't look back. After I walked away that day, I thought it would be over. But freedom has this funny way of being both exhilarating and terrifying. I didn't just walk out on Cassie. I walked into a life I'd ignored for months. Work felt different. Not just background noise or chaos. I actually noticed the little things. The way sunlight hit the corner of my office window. How the barista started remembering my coffee order. Even the way the streets smelled after rain. Emily became more than a distraction. She became the quiet anchor I'd been missing. Someone who asked questions and actually listened. Not the kind that made me feel like I had to perform for attention. Cassie didn't give up, though. Oh, no, she didn't just let go. She started showing up in the strangest ways. Instagram story likes, Snapchat streaks, mutual friends suddenly mentioning her in conversation. Always casual, always testing, always hoping I'd flinch. And sometimes I did, like the night Mark called me out of nowhere. "Bro, you're thinking about her again, aren't you?" I froze. Yeah, I was. And I realized something. Freedom isn't just about walking away. It's about learning how not to run back to the person who taught you the meaning of chaos. My sister, Megan, noticed something was off too. She doesn't say much unless she sees something really wrong. But one Saturday morning she cornered me while I was making pancakes. "Are you happy or are you just tolerating her absence?" I laughed, but not in a joking way. I told her about the open relationship, about Cassie, about Emily, leaving out the ugly details because some things you can't unsee. Megan just nodded, made herself some coffee, and said, "Just remember, your heart isn't a playground. Don't hand it out in pieces. Once someone treats it like a buffet, they don't get the leftovers." I tried to take that advice seriously. I really did. But the universe doesn't wait for you to be emotionally prepared. One evening, Emily and I were on our first proper weekend trip, nothing fancy, just a small cabin near the lake, and I felt my phone vibrate. Cassie. 2 texts. "I need to talk. Please." I didn't respond, not because I wanted to punish her, but because silence was the only boundary she seemed to respect. And then, like clockwork, she found a way to show up anyway. It was the next day, when we were out hiking, that she appeared. She was standing at the edge of the trail, looking like she stepped out of a magazine, sunglasses too large, hair in the effortless braid she knew I hated because it made her look untouchable. Emily noticed me stiffen but didn't say anything. Cassie waved, smiling, and I felt the old pull, the one that made my stomach knot and chest tighten all at once. "Cassie," I said, voice flat, "what are you doing here?" "I wanted to see you," she said, like it was the simplest thing in the world. I need to explain." Emily stepped closer, hand on my shoulder. The gentle squeeze said everything. "This isn't your mess to fix anymore." I nodded at Emily and then turned back to Cassie. "No explanations. If you really needed to explain, the time to do that was months ago." Her face fell. Not sad, not angry, just surprised, like she hadn't considered the possibility that I wouldn't fold anymore. She opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence was worse than any argument. That night, back at the cabin, I kept thinking about her, not in longing, not in desire, just as a ghost I carried longer than I needed to. I told Emily everything, raw and unfiltered, the good and the bad, the nights I waited, the texts I ignored, the Instagram posts I stared at while feeling like my chest was made of glass. She listened, hugged me, and said, "You deserve peace. You're finally getting it." That hug was heavy and warm, and I realized just how much I'd missed being allowed to breathe, without someone else's drama suffocating me. Cassie didn't disappear, though. She started calling again, voice cracking, messages becoming desperate. "I miss you, please, we can fix this." And every time I felt a pang, I reminded myself, this is a woman who told you she wanted freedom. This is the woman who made you wait while she explored. This is a woman who thought your love was a guarantee. Meanwhile, Emily became more than just a sanctuary. She became the standard I'd been chasing without knowing it. She laughed at my stupid jokes, argued when I needed it, and when I was quiet, she didn't push, she just waited patiently. Our friends started noticing the shift. Mark kept teasing, "Man, you're glowing. It's weird. I thought you were emotionally bankrupt." I laughed, but inside I felt it, a slow, creeping warmth that wasn't just a crush. It was comfort, reliability, intimacy without strings attached. Family dinners became a battlefield of subtle questions, though. My parents asked about Cassie, my mom with that slight frown. "You two seem serious. Are you okay?" And my dad, always blunt, "She was giving you stress, wasn't she?" I laughed, deflecting, said, "Yeah, all good now." But inside, the old anxiety bubbled, the fear of disappointing, of admitting I'd been manipulated, of explaining how I'd almost let someone else's whims dictate my life. Megan smirked across the table, elbowing me gently. "Finally learned to walk away, huh?" I smiled. Yes, finally. Cassie's attempts escalated. She started showing up at places she knew I'd be, mutual friend gatherings, random coffee shops, even my favorite record store. Every time, I stayed calm, kept my distance, and let Emily handle the situation gracefully. One night, after a concert, we saw her standing across the street, arms folded, lips pressed in. I kept walking, hand in Emily's, feeling a strange sense of liberation, like I was shedding layers of old trauma. She shouted my name once, then stood still, a small figure in the neon glow, realizing she no longer held power over me. Months passed, and I started to notice little things I'd been blind to before. How much time I'd wasted worrying, waiting, hoping, how the emotional roller coaster had made me forget what normal felt like. With Emily, it was normal. Sunday morning coffee in matching mugs, walks by the river, Netflix nights where neither of us scroll phones obsessively, just being present. It was steady, predictable, healthy. Cassie tried one last time, sending a message late at night. I know you're with her, but can we just talk? For old time's sake. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without replying. That was it. No argument, no explanation, just closure. The peace was permanent, not fragile like it had been with Cassie, not conditional, not transactional, just real. Then came the family drama part. My younger cousin, Josh, decided to tell my parents about Cassie's behavior, how she'd been manipulative, how she'd made me miserable for months, trying to justify his interference with, "I'm just looking out for you." My parents were stunned, but I stayed calm, repeating, "It's okay. I handled it." But inside, I wanted to scream, not at Josh, but at myself, at the months I let her control my happiness. My mom hugged me later, whispering, "I'm proud of you for stepping back." My dad clapped me on the shoulder. Finally, about time someone respected themselves. Cassie eventually faded. No calls, no texts, nothing. Emily and I started planning small things together, trips, dinners, game nights with friends. Life felt like it was finally in color again, not shades of gray anxiety. I laughed more, slept better, even started writing again, little things I'd abandoned while stuck in Cassie's orbit. I think the biggest lesson was how easily we let people define our boundaries for us. How we convince ourselves that chaos is excitement, instability is passion, games are love, and waiting is devotion. And how liberating it is to just say, "No, this isn't for me anymore," and actually mean it. Sometimes, late at night, I scroll past Cassie's posts, vague, distant captions, another man or two in the background, living a life that no longer intersects with mine. I don't feel anger or jealousy or longing. I just feel a quiet satisfaction, knowing I reclaimed pieces of myself I didn't even realize I'd given away. Emily smiles beside me, soft and real, and I think this is what love without chaos feels like. Not the sparks, not the drama, not the unpredictability, but warmth, safety, connection, laughter in mundane moments, coffee in the morning, hand in hand, eyes meeting, and just staying there. And I think back to Cassie, to every late-night message, every cryptic Instagram post, every twisted attempt at control, and I realize the heartbreak wasn't in losing her. It was in losing myself, moment by moment, to someone who didn't value me. Now, I've found myself again, and that's worth everything.